Welcome back to AF Tales. In today's story, a man's ex shows up 2 weeks before his wedding, claiming the betrayal that ruined his life was staged by his own father. As you listen, notice the moment where you would demand the truth, even if it breaks everything. My ex-girlfriend said, "It could cost you everything." I replied, "Prove it." Then I met her downtown, saw a missing heirloom on her neck, checked records, drove to confront my father, and I just watched as 6 years of truth began cracking. 6 years ago, my life ended in a pine forest outside Tacoma. 2 weeks before my wedding, I was at my kitchen table stuffing invitations when my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in years. Marissa Lane. The message was short. "Noah, please hear me out. What happened that night wasn't what you think. It could cost you everything again." I stared at it for 10 minutes, then deleted it without replying. 6 years of silence, and she chooses now. I hadn't said her name out loud since the night before our wedding. The night I found her in my brother Ethan's truck, still wearing the engagement ring I bought with 8 months of double shifts and skipped meals. That ring was supposed to be our forever. Instead, it became a reminder that I could be replaced in my own life. Back then, I was 25 and stupidly in love. Marissa was a photographer with this wild energy that made everything feel possible. She could find beauty in abandoned buildings and broken streetlights. She made me see the world differently. We planned a mountain wedding at my father's cabin, the same place my parents got married decades earlier. It felt like the one thing that could finally make my father proud of me. The cabin sat on 20 acres of pine forest, built by my grandfather in the 1950s. My father talked about that place like it was the family's heart. I thought getting married there would prove I understood what family meant, even though I chose architecture instead of taking over the construction business. Marissa and I planned every detail. She was going to wear my grandmother's dress, the one my father kept in storage after my mother died. We hired a small catering company run by an older couple who'd been doing mountain weddings forever. Even the forecast looked perfect. Looking back, it was too perfect. But at 25, I thought that meant I finally did something right. The night before the wedding, after the rehearsal dinner, I walked out to the parking area to grab something from my car. Dinner had been smooth. Marissa was radiant during the ceremony walkthrough. Even my father seemed happy. He toasted us and said he was proud to welcome Marissa into the family. He said she reminded him of my mother with her creativity. I remember feeling relief, like I had finally earned my place. Then I saw them. Marissa and my brother Ethan in the front seat of his truck, parked in the shadows between pine trees. The moonlight was enough to make it clear what was happening, clear enough that my brain couldn't pretend it was a misunderstanding. I stood there frozen, not because I wanted to watch, but because my body didn't understand how to move when your future collapses. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was the timing. While I had been inside feeling grateful for acceptance, the two people closest to me were outside destroying everything I thought I built. It felt like proof of every insecurity I ever had, that I was always second choice, that I would never be good enough in a way that mattered. There are moments that change your personality. Not because you decide to change, but because you can't be the same person after. I didn't confront them. I didn't scream. I didn't make a scene. I turned around and walked back to the cabin like nothing happened. I sat on the front porch all night, staring into the forest, trying to figure out how I was going to survive the next day. The next morning, I called off the wedding. I lost deposits. I broke my lease in Tacoma. I moved to Seattle. I stopped talking to my family. I told myself it was because I needed peace, but if I'm honest, I also wanted distance from the feeling of being the unwanted son. Ethan was always my father's favorite, the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. I was the disappointment who chose architecture over the family business. Finding Marissa with him felt like the final stamp on that story. Fast forward 6 years. I built a successful architectural technology startup in Seattle. I met Hannah, an ER nurse who is everything Marissa wasn't: stable, honest, loyal. We were getting married in 2 weeks. For the first time since that night, I actually believed I deserved to be happy. Then Marissa texted. Hannah found me in the kitchen surrounded by invitation boxes, staring at my phone like it might explode. She read the message over my shoulder and said something that surprised me. "If she can shake you after 6 years," she said, "then you're not as over it as you think. Meet her, but do it on your terms." I tried to argue. I told her Marissa was trying to cause drama right before my wedding. Hannah didn't flinch. "You never got closure," she said. "You just got distance. There's a difference." That line landed hard because it was true, so I agreed to meet Marissa the next night in a public place downtown. Hannah insisted I bring backup. My business partner, Talia, agreed to come under the excuse of a work dinner. I told myself this was just for closure, that I'd listen, confirm she was lying, and walk away clean. But I was terrified, because part of me feared she might be telling the truth. And part of me feared that if she was, my whole life might be built on a lie. We met at an upscale bar downtown called the Metropolitan. Talia and I got there early and picked a table in the back corner where I could see the entrance. I wanted control of the room. After what happened 6 years ago, control feels like safety, even when it isn't. When Marissa walked in, I barely recognized her. She'd always been thin, but now she looked fragile. Her hair was shorter and darker. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. Then I saw what she was wearing and my blood went cold. A silver pendant necklace with a small diamond. My mother's necklace. It went missing after the wedding fallout. I always assumed it disappeared in the chaos. Seeing it on Marissa's neck made my stomach drop, because it meant something from that night had never been random. Marissa spotted our table immediately. She walked over with the confident stride I remembered, but her energy was different. Nervous, like she'd been holding her breath for years. She sat down and started talking without even saying hello. "I know you hate me," she said. "You have every right. But what you saw that night was not what you think it was. If you don't hear me out now, it could destroy your life all over again." I told her I didn't want excuses. I told her I was happy and getting married. That's when she said the sentence that broke the floor under me. "I did not cheat on you, Noah," she said. "Everything that happened that night was orchestrated by your father." Talia leaned forward. I felt her attention sharpen. She reads people like I read blueprints, and something about Marissa's tone registered as real to her. Marissa said my father, Raymond, approached her 3 weeks before the wedding. He told her he'd been using my startup company to move money from his construction business. He told her I had unknowingly signed documents that could make me legally responsible for financial crimes. She said he threatened to destroy my company and have me arrested if she didn't end things in a way that would make me hate her and leave town for good. "He wanted you gone," she said, "so you'd never discover what he was doing." Then she said something worse. "He didn't just want us to break up," she said. "He wanted you to hate me so much you'd never trust anything I said again." She claimed my father told her to seduce Ethan so the breakup would be devastating enough to break me completely. I told her it was nonsense. I asked why my father would destroy my life instead of just stopping whatever he was doing. Marissa's answer was simple. "Because I found it accidentally," she said. "I was helping you with bookkeeping. I saw transactions that didn't make sense. I confronted your father. He realized if I could figure it out, you eventually would too." Then I pointed at the necklace. I asked how she got it. She said my father gave it to her the night of the rehearsal dinner, told her it was a family heirloom, then demanded it back after everything collapsed. That detail didn't fit the father I knew. He never liked Marissa. He called her wild and unpredictable. Why would he hand her my mother's necklace if he planned to destroy us? Before she left, Marissa dropped one last line. "Ask your father why he made Ethan take the fall for him," she said. "Ask him what really happened to your mother's construction lawsuit." My mother died in a car accident when I was 16. As far as I knew, there was no construction lawsuit. Marissa stood up, nodded once like she'd finished a job, and walked out. I sat there with my hands flat on the table, trying to keep my breathing steady. Talia didn't tell me what to do. She just said quietly, "You're not crazy for feeling unsettled. The necklace changes the math." When I got home, Hannah could tell something was wrong. I lied and said it was fine, that Marissa just wanted closure. Hannah didn't push right away, but I could see she didn't believe me. And that made me feel even worse, because Hannah deserved honesty. I spent that night staring at old folders on my laptop, at company records I hadn't looked at in years. I tried to tell myself Marissa was manipulating me, but the necklace kept flashing in my mind like a warning light. So the next morning, I drove to Tacoma. I didn't call ahead. My father's construction office was in an industrial complex surrounded by equipment yards and concrete suppliers. I hadn't been there since high school back when I helped with paperwork during summer breaks. The office looked exactly the same. Blueprints on the walls, invoices stacked on his desk, the smell of sawdust and printer ink. Raymond looked up when I walked in, and I watched his face shift before he even spoke, like he was calculating what my presence meant. "Well, well," he said, leaning back. "Look what the cat dragged in. I was wondering when you'd show up." I told him I met Marissa. I asked him directly if he ever used my company for anything illegal. At first he laughed. He called Marissa unstable. He said she'd never been good enough for our family. Then I mentioned the necklace. I mentioned the financial details she gave me. His face changed. He went quiet. Then he opened his desk drawer, pulled out a bottle of whiskey, poured himself a drink, and offered me one. I said no. He looked at me with a familiar expression, the one he wore when deciding how much truth he could get away with. "You want the truth," he said. "Fine. Yes. I moved some money through your company, but it wasn't laundering, just creative bookkeeping to avoid taxes. Nothing that would have gotten you in real trouble if you'd kept your mouth shut." That's the moment it became clear. Not because of what he admitted, but because of how casually he framed risking my life as a minor inconvenience. I asked him why he would gamble my future over taxes. He stood up, angry now, and walked to the window overlooking the equipment yard. "You think I was going to let you marry a woman who could bring down everything I built?" he said. She was digging through files she had no business seeing, asking about old projects, contracts, safety reports, inspection records. Then he turned back and said the sentence that made the room tilt. "You think I was going to let you marry a woman who knew I was responsible for what happened to her mother?" I asked what he meant. And everything unraveled. Marissa's mother died in an accident at one of my father's construction sites 12 years ago. There was a lawsuit. It got settled quietly for a fraction of what it should have been worth. Raymond covered up safety violations that contributed to the accident. When Marissa started looking through paperwork connected to my company, she found documents linking my father's business to that site. She put the pieces together. She confronted him 3 weeks before our wedding and threatened to reopen the case. "So you destroyed my engagement to protect yourself from a lawsuit," I said. "I protected this family," he said, like that was the same thing. "I told Ethan to handle it, make her go away permanently. He was supposed to seduce her and destroy her credibility if she ever tried to come forward." Then he added, almost with disgust, "But your brother is weak. He actually fell for her." My chest went tight. I asked where Ethan was now. Raymond shrugged. "He disappeared about a year after you left. Couldn't handle the guilt, I suppose. Good riddance." I walked out without saying another word. I sat in my car for an hour, staring at the steering wheel, trying to understand that the worst night of my life wasn't just betrayal. It was a plan. I drove home and told Hannah everything. Hannah listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You never escaped them, Noah. You just built a prettier cage around yourself." She was right. My successful company, my new life, my confidence in my judgment. All of it was built on a foundation of deception. We talked until 3 in the morning about what this meant for our wedding and our future. Hannah offered to postpone the wedding if I needed time, but Hannah was the only real thing I had. The only thing that didn't feel like a story someone else wrote. I didn't want to postpone. I wanted to marry her even more. Before we went to sleep, I noticed a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I almost deleted it without listening. Then I heard the voice. "Hey, little brother," it said. "I heard you talk to Dad. You don't know everything yet. She didn't just save your business that night. She saved your life. Call me back if you want the whole truth." It was Ethan. I called him back and we met secretly the night before my wedding. He looked older, worn down, like someone who hasn't slept right in years. The first thing he said was, "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." Then he told me the truth with a kind of quiet shame that felt heavier than anger. Our father hadn't just covered up one accident. He'd been cutting corners for years, falsifying inspection reports, removing safety barriers to save money, bribing inspectors to look the other way. Marissa's mother's death was preventable. When the lawsuit happened, Raymond hired investigators to dig into Marissa's family. He found out her father had a gambling problem and minor drug charges in his past. He used that to force a settlement, threatening to destroy the family's reputation and custody situation if they didn't accept the money and stay quiet. So when Marissa discovered documents in my files and connected it to her mother, Raymond panicked. Ethan admitted that Raymond asked him to seduce Marissa to discredit her. Then Ethan's voice got lower. He told me the seduction plan wasn't the worst option. If it didn't work, Ethan said, Dad had other ways to make sure she never testified. He didn't use the word out loud, but he didn't have to. The implication was clear. Ethan said he agreed to the plan because he thought it was the only way to keep her safe. And Marissa figured it out quickly. Instead of exposing Ethan, she agreed to play along with the fake affair because she realized it was the only way to protect both of us. If she just disappeared, Raymond would suspect she was going to the authorities and might still come after her. But if she broke my heart in the most devastating way possible, I would leave town and Raymond would believe the plan worked. "She took the fall for everything," Ethan said, "to save your life and mine, and I let her, because I was too much of a coward to stand up to Dad." Sometimes the deepest betrayal isn't cheating. It's realizing people you trusted treated your life like a piece on a board. That conversation with Ethan changed everything, but not in the way you might expect. It didn't make me want revenge. It made me want truth. And it made me want to build a life that didn't belong to my father's shadows. I went through with the wedding because Hannah was right. She was the real thing. Our wedding wasn't at the cabin. It wasn't about legacy. It was about choosing each other. During my vows, I said something that probably confused some guests, but Hannah understood. I thanked the people who broke me enough to rebuild me, not because I was grateful for pain, but because I was finally done pretending it didn't shape me. 2 days after the wedding, I called Marissa. I told her I knew the truth. I told her I was sorry for hating her for 6 years. She cried, and her voice sounded like relief more than sadness. "I never regretted what I did," she said, "but I always regretted that you carried that pain without knowing why." She left Seattle a week later. The last I heard, she opened a small art gallery in Portland under a different name. She deserved a fresh start without my family's weight attached to her. My father was indicted about a month after my wedding. Apparently the FBI had been building a case for years, and Ethan's information gave them the final pieces they needed. Raymond is awaiting trial now, facing serious charges. Ethan disappeared again after we talked. I don't know where he went. I hope he finds peace, and I hope he learns how to live with what he helped create. As for me and Hannah, we're good. Better than good. I still run my company, but now I donate a significant portion of our profits to a legal fund that helps families fight construction negligence and corporate cover-ups. It's not payment. It's not forgiveness. It's just what feels right. The strangest part is that I don't feel angry anymore. Not at Marissa. Not at Ethan. Not even at my father in the way I thought I would. I feel sad for the years we lost to his manipulation. And I feel grateful that Hannah and I get to build something honest on the other side of it. Lesson 1. Closure isn't always a conversation. Sometimes it's the moment you stop protecting a lie. Lesson 2. if a family demands silence to protect the legacy, what they're really protecting is power. Lesson 3. Trust your gut when details don't add up. One missing item, one strange gift, one inconsistency can be the thread that unravels the truth. Lesson 4. Love that is real can handle the truth. Secrets are what destroy relationships, not honesty. Lesson 5. You can't rewrite the past, but you can choose what you build once you finally know what happened. What would you have done if your ex showed up 2 weeks before your wedding claiming your family set her up? And if you were Hannah, would you have encouraged the meeting for closure, or told Noah to block the message and focus on the future?